पक्का। Yes. Good morning, everyone. Um, Possibly, yes. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good
Yes,
Good
sir. Good
morning.
morning,
morning.
sir.
Good
Good
morning, sir.
morning.
Uh, yes. Uh, Basically, in the last class, we discussed how to develop a project network for a given project, correct? And also, we discussed how to determine the early start and early finish for each of that. And one of the prime responsibility for any of the project manager is scheduling of activities in the project. And the project can be in any form. It can be right from the market research activities until the um, right from market research activities until the once the product is even the project can be considered when the product is under development. And once the product is being developed, even another project can be conducted where the products are being delivered to different retail outlets as well as warehouses. So for all these types of projects, different activities are included, and all these activities are being managed by different type of the project managers. And project managers' main responsibility is the scheduling of the activities, controlling the cost. Correct. So these are nothing but the different scenarios where we actually use project management, and project management in the sense particularly network analysis. So in our class we'll be dealing with early start and early. Okay, so in yesterday's class, what was the last thing we have discussed? Can anyone just tell what was the last example and what was the last the question mentioned example?
So one problem was given.
Yes, what was the question for that particular problem? Question.
So activity and duration was given, and then was asked to develop project network and determine early start and early finish.
Yes. Okay. Can you just tell me? Yes, I remember now what was the last. Okay, so I think I had given one of the problem, and possibly the challenge there was drawing the network diagram. Um, and in the semester end examination, one of the main challenge would be to draw a proper network diagram. And when you are drawing the network diagram, you should see that you avoid any type of the cross connection. Correct? Possibly these are the two activities, let us assume. And if you are having by whatever may be the situation, try to avoid the cross connection and see that the network is being drawn in this particular manner. Correct? This is the right method of drawing the diagram, while this is not right. Okay, why? Because this interconnection has to be avoided somehow, and here there is no interconnection at all. These two activities are totally independent. So try to avoid interconnection. So keeping that in mind, that particular example was given in the last class. Okay. So has anyone uh, drawn this particular diagram without the interconnection?
Yes, sir.
Yes, apart from Vaishali, any other?
So it's Vaishnavi.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Uh, okay. So in that case, can you just tell me the placement of the nodes? So example, we have already seen what is example. I think Listing of the activities again may not be necessary because if we have the network diagram, that would be sufficient. So you can just directly tell me how do we place the node. First comes which node? Node 1, obviously, there is no question. And in the same line. Okay, so I think here listing of the activities is important because there is one hint as to how to consider in this type of problems, how to consider the nodes. Okay, so just to clear that aspect, I will make a list of activities. So can anyone just tell what were the list of activities? Activity and duration. Activity. So what was the first activity?
1-2.
Okay. Next.
2-3.
Okay.
2-4.
2-4. Next.
2-5.
2-5. Okay.
3-5.
3-5.
4-5.
4-5.
5-6.
5-6. I think this is
Done, sir.
done. Okay. What about durations?
3.
3.
Okay.
Again 3.
Okay.
7.
Okay.
9.
Okay.
5.
Okay.
6.
Okay.
4.
So these were the different activities. Is it right? Now, okay, those who have completed this network diagram, can you just tell me how do we place the nodes here? So first comes node 1. Next. In the same
Node
line.
2.
Node 2 will be in the same line. Okay. Afterwards.
Node 3 will be up, sir.
3.
Okay. Node 3 will be up. Okay. Next.
Node 4 will be below 2, sir.
Okay.
Node 5 will be in the line of 2.
Okay. Last one.
Node 6 also in the line of 5.
Okay. Oh. See here, one of the thing is that some of them, I hope some of them have drawn it this way also. This is actually right. Whatever the node placement was just done just now, that was correct. Now, let us assume that some of them have had taken the nodes this fashion 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then what would have happened is 1-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-4, 2-5, 2-5, and next is 3-5. Here, this is the problem. This point is the problem. Here, the interconnection happens, and this we are supposed to avoid somehow. Correct? Now, how to identify the node placement? Here, the node placement is the main parameter which we are supposed to correct. Is it right? So we have to properly know how to place the nodes properly. So this is just my experience. Okay. You can just try this. This is just a trial and error. Okay. What we can do is we should know which nodes are to be placed in the same line. Okay. So we should know which of the nodes are supposed to be placed in the same line. So how do we know that? The most of the activity starts from node 2. Is it fine? So most of the activities actually starts from node 2, and Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Yes. So most of the activities actually starts from node 2, and most of the activities finishes on node 5. See, this is my trial and error method. I'm not sure whether it will not work for it will work for all the problems. Okay, but for most of the problems, I have applied this technique and it has worked. Okay. So uh, many of the activities starts from node 2. Many of the activities ends at node 5. So what can be done here is we can place anyways the starting and the ending node. There is no question about it. We have to place it in the same line itself. You cannot place it here or here, top or at the bottom. You have to keep it in the same line itself. Okay, so there is no question about it. So first and the last node will be in the same line, while the other nodes which has to be placed in the same line as the starting and the ending node are, the decision is very much straightforward. That is 2 and 5. Okay, again I'm telling this is just a trial and error method which I have seen, which I have applied for some of the problems and it has worked, but for few of the problems it will not work. Okay, so I'm just telling it straightly. So if it works, it is good. Otherwise, again, you have to see that you do some type of a trial and error method and see that the interconnections are avoided. Now, interconnections have to be avoided because this is something which even most of the people follow, correct? The interconnection between the arrows have to be avoided. So any of the node can be placed at the top or at the bottom. So I will consider 3 here. So if anyone wants, they can consider 4 in place of 3 and 3 in place of no problems at all. That case, node placement. Correct? Is it understood here? So 1-2 is the first activity, 2-3, then 2-4 is the third, 2-5 is the next, 3-5 is the next one, 4-5, last one is 5-6. Correct? So this is the network diagram. 1-2, 3 days, 2-3, 3 days, 2-4, 2-4, 7 days, 2-5, 9 days, 3-5, 5 days, 4-5, 6 days, lastly 5-6. So the project network is done. Okay, so the solution starts from this point. Okay, so you can just make note of this and then we will start the calculation of early start for each of the nodes.
So,
Yes.
uh, is there any other network diagram apart from this, or is it like only this thing works?
No, I did not understand the question.
So, one network diagram is this one. So, for the question, is
Correct.
there any other type of network diagram apart from this?
So can you just tell me what diagram you have drawn, and I will tell whether it is correctly drawn or not.
What I have drawn is first is 1 and 2.
Okay.
Next in the straight line comes 3, sir.
Okay.
After that it comes 5.
Okay.
Down there's 4.
Below 3
Yes, sir.
or below 2?
Below 3, sir.
Below 3 is 4. Okay.
So 2 will connect 4
Okay.
and 4 will connect 5.
Okay.
And 2 can directly connect to 5, right, sir? Can this be possible?
Okay.
And
And 3-5, is it?
yes, sir. And 5-6.
5-6, that is fine. But the only thing is that it is sort of uh, there are no
The
activities.
2-3.
2-3 is also there. Okay, this is fine. This is also correct.
Because there's no intersection also. Like they're
Yeah.
not intersecting each other also, sir.
Yes, yes, this is also correct. So I hope there are no activities missing, right?
No, sir.
No. I think this is right.
Yes, sir.
2-5, 2-3, 3-5. Correct. So this is fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so both the diagrams are right. Whatever is required, you can do. Okay. All right. So keeping this in mind, so we'll just go back. All right. So you can start calculating early start for each of the nodes. For each node. Draw the early start for each node. Sorry. Calculate early start for each node. First one is E1. Next, calculate E2. E1 is anyways 0 for all the problems. Okay. So just calculate rest of the values for the nodes.
So
Yes. Yes.
can you go to the previous page, sir? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So those who have already completed drawing the network diagram, you can start with calculating the early start for each of the nodes. That is E1, E2, so on until EC. And simultaneously, if there are any problems or any difficulties if you are facing, you can just ask me. Yes. So for E2, what will be the equation or how many activities are required for E2 calculation?
Three.
For E2 calculation, how many equations are required? One equation. Yes,
One.
but the answer is right. 3 is the answer. What will be the equation?
E1 plus duration from 1 to 2.
E1 plus duration of 1 dash 2. That's right. And E1 is 0. Duration is 3. Answer is correct. Next for 3. How many equations are required? E3.
One equation.
One.
One equation. Right. And what is that equation?
E2 plus duration of 2 dash 3.
Duration of. Okay. Now next is E4. How many equations for E4?
1.
One equation.
One equation. So I think those who want to make note of E2 calculation on the screen. That's right. E4 calculation requires only one equation. That's right. And what is the duration for 2-4?
7.
2-5?
9.
Okay, 9. And 4-5?
6.
5-6?
4.
And here, if you have to observe for the fifth node calculation, how many equations are required?
3 equations.
3.
3 equations. That's right. And the 3-5 activity is how much? Duration of 3-5?
5.
Five.
Please.
5. Right. Okay. So I assume that everyone has made note of E1 and E2 calculation. Go for the next one. E4 is how much? E3 plus. Is it right? Duration of 3-4.
2 dash 4.
2-4. That means this also has to change. Okay, E2 plus duration of 2-4. So what is E4?
3 plus 3.
3 plus 3, which is equal to 6. Correct?
Sir, it's 3 plus 7, I
7,
guess.
sir. 7.
7.
3
7.
plus 7.
7.
In which case, it will be 10. Answer will be 10.
Yes.
Okay. What about E3? I think we have left E3. 3 plus
3.
3.
3 plus 3 will be equal to 6. That's right. So E3 is done. E4 is done. What about E5? Maximum of
E2 plus
E2
duration
plus-
from 2 to 5.
2 plus duration of 2-5. Next,
E2 plus duration of 3 to 5.
E3 plus duration.
E3 plus duration of 3-5. Next,
E2 plus duration of 4 to 5.
E4 plus duration of 4 dash.
Sir, E2.
See, E2 is already done, correct? Because since this is the starting node for 2 dash 5, correct? So that is the reason E2
Yes, sir.
plus,
Yes, sir. Correct.
correct. So that is the reason E2 plus 2 dash 5 duration. Next is E3 plus 3 dash 5, E4 plus 4 dash 5, correct? This should be the equation. Why? Because this and this should be the same. Okay, and this and this should be the same, correct? And similarly, these two should be the same. Okay, while these three should be the same as the fifth node calculation here. Okay, so keeping this in mind, E5 is how much? Maximum of. So what is E2 plus duration of 2 dash 5?
12.
Plus 1.
Yes, so I'm directly writing the answer as 12. Next,
11.
11.
next,
16.
16. So maximum is how much?
16.
16.
16. So E5 is 16. So any activity starting from the fifth node will be having the earliest start date as 16. That is the meaning. Next. So I think possibly those who are making note, 1 minute will be given. Just make note of this. And I think E6 requires only one activity. It is 5-6. That is done, correct? So okay. So we're calculating different values for early start values for each of the nodes. If there are any doubts, you can ask simultaneously. And those who have already completed this question, you can completed this solution. Next, you can formulate the table and determine the early start for each of the activities. Okay. So in case if anyone wants me to come back to this particular screen, you can just ask. For now, I'm just going ahead. In case if someone has not made note of any of the points, you can just ask me so that I can come back to the screen. For now, I'm going ahead. E6 is how much? What is the equation for E6? E5 plus
5 to
E5 plus duration of 5-6. Okay, so what will be the answer here? 16 plus how much?
20.
4.
16
Four.
plus
20.
Now, what we'll do is before formulating the table, we'll just write interpretation of all these values. Okay, otherwise we'll write the interpretation at towards the end. For now, just write all these values and fill up the table. What was E2? Anyone?
3, sir.
3. E3 is how much?
6.
6. E4?
10.
16.
16. Correct. So with this, we will formulate early start, early finish, or activities. Okay, very important. This particular last word here. These are nothing but early start for each nodes. Early start for each node. Node means what? It is the start or the ending point of each of the activity. Okay. Now what we are calculating is we are calculating the early start or early finish for the activity. Activity, duration, early start, early finish. 1-2. I do not have that much of space. Anyways, we'll just continue. 1-2, dash 4, dash 5. Correct. And the duration for each of are T7. What about 1-2? Duration of
3.
okay. So tell me what is the early start for this first activity?
E1.
E1. And what is E1?
0.
0. Correct.
0.
That's right. Next,
E2.
E2. Correct. E2 is how much?
3.
Correct. Next. What about next again E2? That's right. How much?
3. 3.
Right. E2
3.
again 3. Correct. Are you understanding this? That means what? Why we are determining the early start for each of the nodes? The reason for that is we can any activity starting from that node can have the early start as 3. Okay. So 3 activities are starting from node 2. Okay. That is the reason they are all the 3 activities are having the same type of early start. Okay, so what will be the early finish?
Three.
0 plus
0
3.
plus 3 is equal to 3.
0 plus 3. And next, yes, once done. What is the
3
next?
plus 3 is equal to 6.
3 plus 3.
3 plus 3. Correct. Next,
7 plus 3
1
is
plus
equal to
3.
10.
what is that? 3 plus 7.
7.
7 is equal to 10. Correct. Next,
9 plus 3 is
3
equal
plus
to 12.
9.
3 plus 9 plus 3. That is equal to 12. That's right. So 2-5 is done. So how many more activities are still there? Have activity. So whatever was remaining, I will just write it here. Duration, early start, early finish. What are the rest of the activities? Can you just tell me?
3-5.
4-5,
4-5,
5-6,
5-6. Done. 3-5. Duration of 3-5.
5.
5,
5.
6, 4,
So what is this? So what is the early for 3-5?
E3.
How much?
6.
6.
What about
E4.
E4,
10. 10.
10?
E5.
I-
16.
16,
Early finish?
6 plus
11.
5,
Correct.
11.
16,
Plus
Correct.
20,
20. That's right. So this is the required solution. Is that right? So what we'll do is we'll just write interpretation in 1 or 2 lines, and then we'll finish. Actually, in the final examination, we do not require interpretations. If the answer is there, that is sufficient. But since we do not know what type of the questions are going to come, final examination, write interpretation below this table. So what was E2? E2 was how much? E2 was 3, I guess. Is it right?
3, sir.
yes,
Yes. E2 is equal to 3, and E3 is equal to 6. It means that uh, any activity that starts from the third node will have its early start as equal to 6. Will have it means that any activity that starts from the third node will have its early start as equal to 6. Okay. And okay, and any activity starting from the second node will be having the early start as equal to 3. Is it fine? So any activity that starts from the second node will have its early start as 6. We can just make note of this. Go ahead. So node means what? Again, I'm reiterating it. Node means what? It only represents the start and the end point of the activity. Otherwise, what will happen is if the node was not there in the network diagram, then the network diagram would have consisted of only arrows, and it would really look odd, and we would not have, we would not come to know where the activity actually starts and ends. It's really difficult to understand where the activity starts and ends if the network diagram only consists of arrows. Is it right? So if the nodes are there, uh, actually it will be very convenient for the project manager to identify at this particular point the activity starts or ends. Is it fine? So that is the main intention of the node. Okay, so I'm just going to the next slide. So as much as possible, I will try to upload the videos whichever completed until now to online mode. So I'll try to upload or share the link with everyone, like what I did in the first semester. Okay, so if anyone has missed out any of the explanation or any notes, you can get it from that particular video. Have its early start as equal to 6 and any activity. Second node will have early start as all right. So this is the interpretation of the nodes. Now interpretation. Early start of the activity. Okay, so the early start of activity 2-3 is equal to 3 days. That means earliest possible duration by when the project manager can start and start 2-3 activity third day. Okay. That means the earliest possible duration by when a project manager can start this particular activity is third day. Now, project manager cannot start an activity before that. Why? Because until the third day, the previous activity is carried out. Is it right? So this is the interpretation of early start. Similarly, for the early finish also. So you can write your own interpretation for early finish. Okay, it is nothing but earliest finish duration for industry activity. How much? What is the early finish time for 2-3 activity? Correct. So earliest finished duration for 2-3 activity is 6, I guess.
6.
Correct. It is equal to 6. That means what? The project manager cannot finish an activity before that duration. Not possible at all, because that itself is the earliest possible duration. Before that, the activity cannot be finished. That is a possibility right now with the given scenario. If there are any doubts, you can ask me. Means that project manager must start activity before the third. Okay. That is the main interpretation of early start date. That means what? This is the minimum day. This is the minimum day from when you can actually start the activity. Minimum possible. Okay. So from here onwards, on any day until the latest start date. So a project manager can ideally start an activity between the early start date and the latest start date. So what is the latest start date? We will see it in the next class. So that range is between early start date and the latest start. So here we actually end the early start and early finish topic. The next class we'll start with latest start and latest finish component. Okay. So if there are any doubts, you can ask me, or if there are no doubts, we will conclude the class. Class years, give me the attendance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we'll conclude the class here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.